Chezzi Denyer opens up to the readers of her blog the Chezzi Diaries about why they haven't heard from her in the second half of the year, and won't hear much until early next year. About a month ago, Scout had a bad cold, as little kids often do when they start daycare. She kindly passed it to Grant first, and he was unwell with a sinus infection and subsequent chest infection after that, and then I developed the sniffles and bang, I was smashed with broccoli something, and while I was being treated for that, developed my worst ever case of sinusitis. I have a bad history of sinus infections. They relate right back to when I was playing basketball in the US at age 15. During a game overseas, I was hit in the nose by an elbow, and the left-hand side of my nose was smashed badly. I was not able to play basketball again. As I was told I needed to have surgery at the time, but was not covered properly to have it done in the States, I opted to wait until I came back home a few weeks later. I never had that operation though, as when I returned home, my nose had all healed and I was young and had no issues at that stage. It wasn't until I tried playing sport a few months later, that I realized I was now left with a loud whistle through my nose and sinus. Again, I was young and silly and actually thought it was kinda cool that I could whistle through my nose. I could also impress my friends by sucking my left nostril completely closed just by sucking in hard. It was cool. Okay, fast forward to my mid-20s, and I was starting to have hearing issues out of my left ear. In fact, at one point, I had just under 10% hearing in that ear. When I got a cold, not that often, I would hear crackling in my left ear for weeks afterwards. Similar to when you're traveling and your ear pops. Listen, the 4 questions every kid asks, Jess Smith. Post continues after audio. I would hear that while just talking. I suffered from regular, probably about 5 per year, sinus infections, but they were easily treated and I didn't think much of it at that time. Early 30s, and I now have a brand new bug, Sailor, and since being pregnant with her, I noticed some big changes in the structure of my nose, especially the left-hand side, which was beginning to look towards my ear. My hearing was virtually non-existent in my left side, which can be quite dangerous. I had balance issues, I would often trip or slip over, and I would always walk into objects/doors with my left-hand side. I was constantly banging my left arm or leg, and I was beginning to have some problems with my lower back, the left-hand side of my lower back. Again, I didn't really think much of it at this point and just struggled along. During the last year we lived in Sydney, I was having recurrent sinus infections. Bad sinus infections where I would be left pretty much useless for a week at a time, head pounding, nose blocked and stuffy, unable to bend over without feeling my head would explode. Hearing was akin to someone talking to me underwater when I was mid-sinus infection. I was put on heavy antibiotics weekly, for 5 months that year.